Three, two, one. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. For anybody watching, thank you very much for watching. And what we're going to be doing is a second playthrough of Sekiro. This is what I would consider one of the trifectas of From Software's games library, meaning that out of all their games that I've played, except I haven't played Dark Souls 2, my favorite three are Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. Not in that order, but those are, I like them very similarly as far as like my appreciation. The reason why I have never replayed Sekiro, unlike Bloodborne, my excuse for Bloodborne was the lack of 60 FPS from the console side because Sony didn't want to give it to us. So Dark Souls 3, I've actually done 2 playthroughs, I think, or 2.5. And then recently I've revisited Bloodborne because now we can play it on PC at 60 FPS. But Sekiro, I never came back to, and there's a few reasons for that. One, time and, other games that I was occupied with. But Sekiro is a very different beast altogether in regards to the From Software games. And unlike, some of the other games, this one was actually not directed by Miyazaki. He had kind of did some of the overlooking in the beginning, but it was actually a different developer. Unfortunately, at the moment, I don't recall his name, but it is a different, not developer, game director, excuse me. But it's still arguably one of From Software's best games, in my opinion. Anyways, what I wanted to kind of cover a little bit is, why I didn't revisit it aside from time and playing other games. Sekiro, unfortunately, has some in-game mechanics that, let's just say, rub me the wrong way. And I don't mean the difficulty, because I know some people would automatically assume, oh, it's just too hard for you or whatever. It is a hard game, and arguably, I think it's the hardest out of the 3. But that's not the reason I have issues with this game and why I didn't come back to replay it. The issues for me is this game objectively requires the most time sink farming than any of their other games. Even like Elden Ring, I think. And what do I mean by that? I mean that there are certain items in the game, consumables, that you need in order to fight enemies or whatever. I'll use Bloodborne as an example. So Bloodborne also has a mechanic like this, where there's 2 consumables that you technically would need to farm. The number one being blood vials, because when you rest, you don't get refresh like you would in Dark Souls 3, and the silver bullets. I think they're silver bullets. Now, generally, you don't really need to farm silver bullets, generally, but blood vials, you generally will. I would say the only time you don't is if you've already kind of gotten to the level with the game, second playthrough or anything more than that, where you're good enough to where you don't have to farm the blood vials because you're getting enough. So when you go to fight bosses, you're not running out. But if you're doing a first playthrough and you're an average gamer, you're going to need to farm blood vials. And it is a time sink. And it's one of the things I don't particularly like in modern games, specifically single player games. I will try not to rage about that because it triggers me quite drastically. I hate that developers put farming mechanics in single player games. Now, when I say farming mechanics, if it's a Diablo type of game where the game is solely built around farming, that's different. I love that type of farming, but you're farming for gear. You're also getting consumables, but you're building your character up. But when you're specifically putting in a resource consumable that is kind of paywalls you from progression, and it's not a matter of the same of like a Diablo game, I just think that is just a real fuck you to the player that's buying and playing your game. And I know millennials and Gen Z, I would say Gen Z is probably the worst about it. They don't have a problem with it because they've known no other way. They've never played games where there wasn't a farming mechanic. And I almost envy you because, as Cypher would say from The Matrix, ignorance is bliss. I played games since I was 5. I turned 51 in 3 months. So that doesn't mean I'm some great gamer. I'm actually a terrible gamer, average at best, and that's being very generous. And I've got the memory span of a goldfish. But the point I'm trying to make is, in my time span of playing video games, the farming mechanic that got introduced to single player games didn't really come into effect until I returned to single player games after I quit doing multiplayer games. And it started with multiplayer games, and single player developers looked at it and was like, this is a good idea. This will boost our player analytics, to our shareholders, because the shareholders, they don't know anything about games. So when they see the statistics of how many, pull up SteamDB, and you see how many players are playing and for how long they're playing, yes, they're playing the game, and the majority of the statistics are, let's just say, accurate, but there's at least because of these farming mechanics that are put in, there's at least at minimum an additional 10 to, anywhere up to like 30 to 35% more player time that is like fake breasts. Breast implants. It's not real because the players are being baited into these farming mechanics. But anyways, I've kind of talked a bit about that, before. I'll probably talk about it again because I fucking hate it. It is the biggest middle finger to the player that is buying your game. And for a single player game, this is not something that should be in the game. And if it is, it needs to be kept to a minimal, But anyways, now that I've kind of lightly raged, I'm a jaded gamer. Because like I said, when I grew up, from age 5 all the way up to about 19, I played single player games, and there literally was no farming. Not really. I mean, you could say, well, in Zelda, you had to get the coins, and in Metroid, you had to farm health to fill up your health tanks. Yeah, that was a form of farming for sure. But you know how long that took? Like 5 minutes. It wasn't stretched out to where you're doing it for hours. Like if you want to put a farm in a game, I'm not saying I'm completely against it, but you don't want the player to have to spend any more than, 5 to 15 minutes, farming whatever it is they may need. Unless of course it's like a Diablo type of game, like an isometric action RPG, anyways. But, Sekiro is the worst about it because there are several consumables in the game. And I remember one of them, particularly the confetti, I farmed that shit for hours in this game because it was required in order to fight some of the enemies in the game. And it just really, really sucked, as far as like how much, time it was eating up. And, I don't know how many hours I put in doing it, but and I only did it because at the time, it wasn't because I wasn't ignorant to it. I knew exactly what was going on, but I was streaming it. It was a new game, and I was just like, okay, let's just get through it or whatever. And some of it I think even did off stream or whatever. And but anyways, so why am I complaining about this? Why am I going on and on about this? Well, I have found some mods. 2 in particular. One of them completely negates the farming. So as soon as I get a consumable, it is infinite. I don't have to go farm that consumable. I have as many as I need, so I don't have to farm it. But I don't have, let me clarify a bit. So whenever you rest, you can only carry so many. So if you're going to do a boss, you can only, like, let's say for confettis, you can only, I think you get 5. So if I do a boss encounter, I'm not going to be able to sit there and just keep buffing. I will run out. That I'm okay with. It's the running out permanently where it doesn't refresh. So I've got a mod that will essentially negate all the farming required. Now, another thing that I noticed, and because I was going back and looking at my first playthrough and doing a little bit of research, is that this game, they also implemented another farm of what I would call experience and for your currency. Because I forgot, and I'm glad when I was setting the game back up, that I kind of, refresh my memory on some things, because this game also has an XP loss mechanic and a currency loss mechanic. And what I noticed, and I remember I also had to farm experience because I was dying, and, because I'm such an amazing gamer, and I was dying and losing experience. So I had to go, kill enemies, and also needed currency because I died and lost it all. Now, one of the things I do agree with on the developers, if you were playing this game on a first playthrough, it kind of makes sense why they designed the game that way, because what they wanted you to do is go through an area, progress so far, and die and have to go through it again. And it was kind of like a form of training, like the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. So by the time you've gone through the area, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you're not only getting better at progressing through that specific area, but you're also getting better at the actual combat mechanics. So it's almost like a forced way of training you. And I think that was actually kind of clever. The problem with that is you could very well end up in a position, this is what happened to me, in the mid game or even the late game, where you've lost so much XP, you're not at the level you would be to have the skills that you would normally have. And so you're kind of screwed. So what do you need to do? You have to farm. Now, if you go and play a second playthrough, you don't really need to do that. I mean, you're still probably going to die. I'm definitely going to be dying in this game for sure, but you're not going to be dying as much. So the XP and the experience, I don't really know how that would balance out. And also, I played this game at launch. This thing's had multiple patches, kind of a DLC. I don't know. I haven't really followed that, but I don't know what they've changed since then. So I've turned off the XP loss and the currency loss with another mod. If I start to see that I'm getting over leveled, then I'll just turn it off. It's real simple. I think I can bring it up here. Yeah, it's called Sekiro FPS Unlock, and you can disable death penalties. There's also the Dragon Rot. I'm not going to do that because that will definitely screw up the balancing of the game. So I went ahead and left that enabled. But if I start to notice that that I'm maybe getting to the point where I'm over leveled, then I can just turn this off, and it'll kind of, prevent me from, getting too high. That's going to take a little bit of balance. I did increase the field of view slightly on my first playthrough. I did the same thing, but it was way too much. So I went with 30, and it just pulls it out just a little bit. One of the things that I very much admire about Sekiro that I wish they would have done with Elden Ring is there's what I would call, I'm not saying that this is what it's called, this is just what I call it, a telescoping camera. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, From Software is very well known for using a very tight field of view. And if I remember right, looking it up, I think it's 40 degrees or 50 degrees. It's really, really narrow. And is one of the things I really struggled with, because I came from a world of first-person shooters after leaving multiplayer gaming to, Dark Souls, and I was playing with 100 to 110 field of view, and now I'm playing with less than half than that. So it was just really it just wasn't working. So I used a field of view slide or a mod for Dark Souls. And it wasn't until I went and played Bloodborne, where I wasn't able to do that because you can't mod on console, at least not at the time, that I started to see the aha, why they did that. And so I quit doing it. But I think that what they did with Sekiro, that I wish they had done with Elden Ring, is there are moments in the game where the camera will zoom out. You'll notice it specifically with the Guardian 8 boss. There's other places too. But they should have done that with Elden Ring, because there are several bosses in Elden Ring where it would have benefited to be able to actually see the boss. And I'll talk about it again once we get to that boss to kind of, illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. And I don't know why, because they clearly have the ability to do it. So it's like when this was the last game that From Software made, except for I think Armored Core came out later. So it was Sekiro and then Elden Ring. So when Elden Ring came out, I was kind of hoping that they would fix that, and they didn't. And it just, because the point of the type field of view is it helps with ambushes, because From Software, that's part of the gameplay, and I like that, so I get it. So it's partly for that. It's also to make you force look, because you can easily miss things, even shinies or whatever. I've gone back and watched playthroughs of my playthrough and be like, why didn't I pick that up? I clearly see it, but I didn't see it, for whatever reason. And a lot of it was because of the type field of view. Anyways, outside of the farming mechanics that they put in this game, that was kind of the reason why I didn't come back to play it. But we're doing it now. I was able to find some mods to negate that. Now, there was one issue with one of the mods. I don't really know how I'm going to deal with this particular issue, because I don't really have any control over this. But because the mod I'm using gives me unlimited consumables, it also gives me unlimited the currency charms or whatever. They're like the bullets in Bloodborne. And unfortunately, whenever I use my prosthetic, which is the currency to pay for that during, a boss encounter or a fight or whatever, it's unlimited. And I wasn't able to find a version of the mod where it's just normal. I want unlimited to be able to refresh when I die, but when I'm actually doing an encounter or a boss, I don't want it to be unlimited. So I'm gonna have to mentally try to remember, okay, I can only use this ability 5 times or 8 times, because that's how much I would normally be able to use it if I was limited by the currency or whatever. Outside of that, it should play pretty well and not have to be dealing with too much bullshit. So I've got about an extra hour onto this. Is my first playthrough, and that was because I was reconfiguring my controls, because I have a whole new control scheme now, and I was just kind of testing it out, and also just kind of refreshing my memory of the game a little bit. But anyways, we're gonna do a brand new game.
Toki wa Sengoku Makki. 日の本すべてを焼いた戦火はいまだに勢い衰えず、山深いアシナの国にも燃え広がっていた。県政アシナ一心、国取りの決戦であった。
野良犬が心すらなくしたか。 ああ、共に来るか、飢えた狼よ。
そして戦場で拾われた狼は修行の末熟達の忍びとなった。
忍びの掟は忘れまいな。親の次に大事なもの、お前の心に刻むがよい。あれが今日からお前の主だ。命を賭して守り、たとえ奪われるとも必ず取り戻すのだ。よいな、狼よ。
一心の国取りから24年。芦名の国は斜陽にあり、狼の忍びはすべてを失っていた。育ての義父も守るべき主も。
忍びよ、目覚めてください。あなたの主のために。
Okay, something real quick I forgot to mention earlier. One of the things that we had a problem with at this game at launch was HDR. It just wouldn't work properly. And a lot of us, myself included, I think, were blaming From Software. I don't really know who's exactly at fault, but after learning what I learned later, I believe the problem was more a Windows issue, because Windows was still kind of crossing over of supporting HDR, like actually supporting it. And when I was setting this game back up, it was not working very much like, the problems that I had at launch. I was like, crap, they still haven't fixed it after all this time. So I did a quick search, obviously, and I discovered that if you turn off auto HDR in your Windows settings, that's what fixed it for me. So it's working, and there is a difference. It looks so much better with auto HDR, and or not with it off. I'm sorry. So you turn off auto HDR. You still want HDR on in Windows, and then you turn it on obviously in the game. But the auto HDR, it's almost like it does like the self-canceling thing. And then for the I'm just playing at 4K because we're only at 60 FPS here. And then wait a minute. These are the settings I ended up going with. I just turned off motion blur. I think shadows I put at medium because I don't notice a big difference, but they are usually a pretty big performance hit on a lot of games, not all, but a lot. And I'm just trying to make sure that all my other settings are applying. Sometimes when you create a new profile for gameplay, it resets everything. So it looks, hold on. Yeah. Okay, it looks like everything's good. Okay, and oh, one other thing, a little bit off topic. So yesterday I spent pretty much all day. I got my motherboard and everything, and I got my main game rig halfway put together. I just got the motherboard, CPU and motherboard put together, and I got it, I would say 90% tuned. It is performing like a beast. It's really good. I'm actually thinking about making a video to talk about it and showing the benchmarks and everything. But anyways, let's get into this. Oh, I also prefer to go with the Japanese language with subtitles. I just, even though I don't speak Japanese, don't understand Japanese, I just prefer it. I'm not really big on reading subtitles, but for this, I do like to make an exception. I don't remember if there's anything over here. Oh, right, there is, but we can't get up there yet. Some stuff I remember, some I don't. So I'm pretty sure that's where we came from. I don't think we can get to that ledge. That's, yeah. Okay. I think that's something we have to do later. I have the music on for now. But I may end up turning it off later, but we'll keep it on for now.
特に稼などしておりませんが、構わぬのでしょうか。大事ない。刀物。おい。
よく来てくれた。久しいな、狼よ。
お迎えに参上いたしました。我が主。
表を上げよ。くさび丸、そなたの刀だ。我が忍びよ。主従の約定に従い、 命を賭し我に仕えよ。
御意。
狼よ、傷を負っておるようだな。そうだ、そなたにこれを託そう。薬水のひょうたんだ。これで傷を癒してくれ。さて、そなたの体、その後大事はないか？
その後とは？
あの世のこと、覚えておらぬのか？
はい。
いや、司祭は後にしよう。今は、このアシナの城を脱さねばならぬ。
御意。
堀沿いに進んだ橋の下に、場外への抜け穴がある。一心様より、そう聞いたことがある。まずは、その橋下の抜け穴を見つけてきてほしい。見つけたらそうだな。足の歯笛で合図をくれるか。ほら、昔、聞かせてくれたであろう。こう、ピーッとな。その音を頼りに、そなたのもとへ行こう。
Now there is a little bit of a trick that we can do here. I'll show in just a minute. Let me Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I have unlimited consumables. So now that I've got the pellets, I can use them, but I'll never run out. But I can only use what I would normally carry in between rests. So that I can live with. The only thing I don't like is the, at least about the mod that I'm using, is those spirit emblems or whatever, because yeah, I'm gonna have to like pay attention to that. So anyways, little trick that I noticed when I was setting the game up is right now we're like near dead and we only got one heal. If you're bad like me, what you can do is you can quit game. And go back in. Oh, it didn't do it. That's strange. Maybe I need to open this first because it actually healed me. Let me double check. Maybe I need to talk to her again.
堀に沿って進んだ橋の下に場外への抜け穴がある。このアシナの城を脱するため、橋下の抜け穴を見つけてきてほしい。見つけたら合図をくれ。足のハブ。
Right. Yeah, I remember exiting the game and then going back in, and it put me at full health. I don't know why it's not working now. Not a big deal, I mean, but I'm just kind of wondering, why did it work before and it's not now? Yeah, it's not working now. I don't know why. Okay, no big deal. Oh, that's right. I was low on health. I was like, what happened? I forgot to heal. Oh, maybe that's what I did. And I didn't die. Maybe I healed and then exited out and it refreshed the gourd. I don't know. No big deal. Yeah, it's good to pay attention to your health. So I guess technically you can skip all those guys, drop down, hang, go around over here, and then go straight to this little mini boss. But where's the fun in that? You probably can't really notice that I've got the field of view bumped up a little bit because it's not like I actually started it pretty high. I think I had it at like 50% more, and then I was noticing that if you go too much in the field of view, depending on how good your eyesight is, I'm a bit older, so mine's not so good. It can make seeing the timings for the parries more difficult because you're zoomed out and you really need to focus on the tails of the enemies. If you've got really good eyesight, then you could probably get away with it. I had to remember where I put my eavesdrop button. Okay. Okay, so I think we can drop down. No, we don't want to drop down there. Why did we come over here? Oh, we do. Okay, never mind. I think we do need to drop down. So, why would we kill that guy? Yeah, we can't go across the ledge over there. Don't think we can. Nope. Okay. Oh, there is an item over there. Oh, maybe we're supposed to go around. Okay, let me try that. Well, I don't know. All right, let's try that. Oh, shit. That's fine. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. I don't think I can go back up now. Nope. Oh, well, we'll come back. Oh yeah, these geckos. Shouldn't I be getting XP for these? Maybe you don't get XP here. Okay. You can? Okay, cool. That's another reason why I don't like playing games too much. Even games I love, because sometimes I'll play a game back to back if I really love it. And I arguably did play about 1.5 playthroughs of this, and that was because I fucked up the quests. The quests in this game are really easy to screw up. I don't know if I'm going to worry about that on this run, just because they're so like they're so convoluted. More than the average quest, I would say. Like one of the main quests is arguably the easiest to screw up, and is the most, has so many steps. And I did consult Grok for like a little bit of a guide to hopefully get through it, but I don't know if that I don't want to worry about it too much. I just kind of want to just play the game.
狼をよく見つけてくれた。さあ、参ろう。
御意。
血の定めから逃れることしかできぬとはな。この城を出ていずこへ参ろうか。まずはアシナの国を離れるか、あるいはどこかに身を隠すか。そなたはどう思う？
御意のままに。
御意か。そなたは変わらぬな。
はっ。
いや、懐かしいと思うてな。さあ、参ろう。
久しいな、巫女よ。叔父上の墓前以来か。
源一郎殿。私はすまぬ。
お任せを。
邪魔立てするか、巫女の忍びを。芦名源一郎、参る。忍びとてこの程度か。巫女はもらっていくぞ。
目覚めたようじゃな。どうやらまだ死の定めではないと見える。お前さん、名は何という？その目、さしずめ、任に敗れた狼といったところか。
言えぬ。
それが忍びじゃな。わしは仏を掘らなきゃならん。お前さんはお前さんで好きにしな。
何故俺はここにいる？
ただ拾ったのよ。屍かどうかもわからぬものを野良犬に食わせてやることもあるまい。
どれほど俺は眠っていた？
お前さんを拾ってからずいぶん経つぞ。
そうか。
じゃが主の主はまだ生きておるぞ。アシナの城で囚われとなっている。だがすぐにもその血を利用されちまうだろう。お前さんを見ればその価値は十分にあろうというものじゃ。
この左腕、俺に何をした？
そいつは忍び義手。石腕の狼にはおあつらえ向きの牙じゃろうて。仏を掘るには無用でな。お前さんにくれてやる。
忍び義
そいつはただ失った腕を補うもんじゃない。任務を見つけたらわしのところに持ってくるがいい。
手。任具だと？そうか。このからくり。
察しがいいな。任務を持ってきたら忍び義手に仕込んでやる。そうすりゃその義手のありがたみがわかるじゃろうさ。喋りすぎたな。いいきな。
巫女様の血が利用されるとはどういうことだ？
わしも詳しいことなど知らん。ただ流院、そう呼ばれる特別な血があるという。主の主はそれを持っておる。
それゆえ巫女様は
付け狙われる。お前さんの体が妙なことになっておるのもそのせいかもしれぬな。お前さんもそうじゃが、この荒れ寺にはおかしな客がまあまあ訪れる。寺を出て右手の広場にもそうした者が一人おる。妙なことになっておる者同士、気が合うかもしれんな。お前さんか。わしは仏、お前さんはお前さんで好きにしな。ああ、そこにある優しい顔の仏様。そいつには妙な真似をするなよ。その優しい顔の仏様はわしの彫ったもんじゃねえ。誠の仏師が彫られたものだ。人が己の内にあるものと向き合う、そういった時に助けとなるだろう。
己の内にあるものとは？
怒り、悲しみ、あるいは古い過去の記憶、そういった類のものじゃ。
There are a few things I remember. That lady's not here. Maybe she comes later. Oh, okay. I think this is new. And this is the trainer. So I talked about this on one of my other streams. I played late spring going into the summer a game called First Berserker Kazan. Amazing game. Really, really amazing game. And one of the things that the developers kind of messed up on, and we talked to them about it, is you get a trainer. I would say the trainer you get in that game is a better system, but the problem with it is they don't give you the trainer until